My CEO said, "Good morning, honey," after the office party bet and my safe life was done. "Good morning, honey." That was the first thing I heard when I walked into a kitchen I had never seen before, wearing yesterday's dress shirt, one sock, and the kind of headache that makes a man reconsider every confident sentence he has ever spoken. I stopped in the doorway. Victoria Lang stood at the counter with a coffee mug in her hand, barefoot, calm, and way too amused for a woman who owned half the company I worked for. Victoria was our CEO, 34, sharp, controlled, and famous for walking into quarterly meetings like she had personally negotiated with gravity and won. I had worked under her for 5 years at Eastbridge Analytics, and in all that time, I had never seen her without a blazer, never heard her laugh without checking whether it was appropriate, and never once imagined waking up inside her house. So naturally, I handled the situation with all the dignity of a grown man. "Please tell me that's not what I think it means." She lifted one eyebrow. "Depends." "What do you think it means?" "I think I need coffee before I answer that." Smart. Cowardly but smart. I looked down at myself. "Where's my other sock?" "In the entryway." "Why?" "You challenged my houseplant." I stared at her. She sipped her coffee. "The houseplant won." That was when the previous night started coming back in ugly little pieces. The company party downtown. Bad appetizers. Too many people pretending to enjoy small talk. Victoria giving a short speech and getting pulled into a circle near the bar. Me, usually the man who left early, staying because my team had closed a difficult account and my friend Nate said, "Don't be an 80-year-old in a 34-year-old body, Jake." Then the bet. Victoria had claimed no one in operations could name every board member in order of most useless to most dangerous. I said I could. She told me that was impossible. I said, "You're underestimating how much time employees spend silently ranking executives during meetings." She laughed. Actually laughed. Not the clean CEO version, a real one. Then someone put a napkin between us like it was a contract. Nate started chanting, "Do it," because he had the emotional discipline of a raccoon near a trash can. Victoria, with her chin lifted, said if I lost, I had to admit in front of the leadership team that operations was not the real spine of the company. I asked what I got if I won. She said, "My respect." I told her, "I already have that. You keep approving my budget." She tilted her glass at me. "Fine." "Breakfast." I said, "Breakfast with the CEO sounds like a disciplinary meeting with eggs. And yet you're still standing here. I won the bet." "Barely." Then I apparently announced that her victory conditions had been poorly structured, which was true, and then the night got softer around the edges. Now I was standing in her kitchen. Victoria pointed toward a stool. "Sit down before you start looking for exits." "I'm not looking for exits. You glanced at the hallway twice. I'm assessing the building." "This is a house, Jacob. Still has exits." She smiled into her mug. "You were much braver last night." "That's because last night I had backup." "Your backup was Nate, who told my ficus it had weak leadership." "Then I stand by my team." She laughed again, and that sound did something inconvenient inside my chest. I sat at the kitchen island. "Victoria." Very formal. "You're my CEO." Still true. "I woke up in your house." Also true. "You called me honey." "I was testing your blood pressure." "Congratulations, you found it." She set a mug in front of me. Nothing happened. I looked at her. Her smile softened, but she didn't make it sentimental. "You got into a ride with Nate, then got out again because you said he would make you listen to a podcast about productivity." "I was leaving. You were standing by the curb, arguing with your phone, because you couldn't get the rideshare app to work. You were not in great shape, but you were polite about it." That sounds like me. Useless but mannered. "You gave my driver your address as the apartment with the disappointing lamp." I closed my eyes. "I'd like to withdraw from society." "I didn't know where that was." "You refused to call anyone. You kept saying, 'I am a self-contained adult.' That also sounds like me. So I brought you here." Guest room door closed, shoes by the door, one sock with the plant. Nothing happened. I let out a breath I didn't realize I had been holding. She watched me over the rim of her mug. You look relieved. I like my job. That's all? I took the coffee. I also prefer to remember major personal disasters. Fair. A minute passed. The kitchen was quiet, but not awkward in the way I expected. She moved around like a normal person. Coffee. Toast. A cabinet that stuck when she pulled it. I knew her as the woman who could dismantle a sloppy presentation in under 60 seconds. Here, she muttered at a toaster like it had insulted her family. Your toaster is aggressive, I said. It has a strong personality. It burned one side and ignored the other. That is called executive balance. I nodded. That explains several departments. She pointed at me with a butter knife. Careful. You're off-site, but not immune. Noted. She put a plate in front of me and leaned on the counter. For the record, you won. The bet? Yes. I know. Don't look so satisfied. I won breakfast. You won a technicality. I won because I correctly identified Leonard Pierce as more dangerous than useless. She sighed. That part bothered me. Because I was right? Because you were too right. I took a bite of toast. Is this where you admit operations is the spine of the company? No. You're a sore loser. I'm a CEO. We rebrand losing. As strategic humility? That's decent. I may steal it. The whole thing should have ended there. Coffee, awkward jokes, a ride home, then 5 years of pretending none of it happened. That would have been the safe version. The version I was built for. I liked safe. I liked routine. I liked problems that had numbers, deadlines, and solutions. I had been careful for years because careful men did not wake up in the houses of women who signed their paychecks. But when Victoria handed me my missing sock from the entryway with a straight face and said, "Your opponent was gracious in victory," something shifted. I saw her, not as the woman at the head of the table, but as a woman who could make coffee in silence, hold a joke too long, and look a little tired when she thought no one was checking. If I had known where that morning was headed, I would have put on both socks faster and left before breakfast. Or I would have stayed longer. That's the irritating part about life-changing mornings. You never know which mistake you're making until later. At the door, she handed me my jacket. My driver can take you home, she said. I can get a ride, Jacob. There it was. The CEO voice. Not loud, just final. I took the jacket. I appreciate the rescue. You would have survived. I'm not sure the plant would have. She opened the door, then paused. About last night, I waited. No office jokes, of course. No weirdness, agreed, and no suddenly acting like you've never spoken to me before. I looked at her then. She was holding the door with one hand, trying to make the sentence casual and failing by about 2 inches. I can manage normal, I said. Can you, historically? Barely. But I'll make an effort. Her mouth curved. Good. At the office on Monday, normal lasted 11 minutes. I was in the break room pouring coffee when Nate walked in, carrying a banana and the expression of a man who knew he had information, but not the wisdom to handle it. Morning. Apartment with the disappointing lamp. I didn't look up. Say that again and I'll assign you to vendor cleanup. You disappeared with the boss. I got a ride from the boss. Uh-huh. She was being responsible. Uh-huh. You sound like a broken microwave. Nate leaned against the counter. I'm just saying, you and Victoria had a whole thing at the party, a bet, a vibe. You're 36. Stop saying vibe. I'll stop when you stop making eye contact with CEOs over cocktail napkins. I picked up my coffee. Nothing happened. I didn't ask. You were about to. I was about to ask if she really beat you at darts. She did not beat me. She changed the scoring system. That sounds like losing with a press release. I walked past him. Get back to work. Sure, honey. I stopped. He grinned. Nate. Yeah? I control the schedule. I respect your privacy. Excellent choice. By 10, Victoria called me into a strategy review. There were 6 people in the conference room. Mara from finance, who spoke like every sentence, had already been checked for risk. Dennis from product, who never met a simple answer he couldn't bury under a chart. 2 directors dialing in, Nate pretending not to watch me, and Victoria at the head of the table. She was fully back in CEO form. Navy suit, clean posture, and readable face. Not a trace of the woman who had threatened a toaster. Then she looked at me and said, "Jacob, operations perspective?" I gave the update. Vendor delays, staffing issue in Phoenix, a timeline that would hold if product stopped changing requirements every 48 hours. Dennis leaned back. "That's a little dramatic. It's a little accurate." He smiled without warmth. "We're all under pressure." "Then stop adding pressure with late revisions." Mara tapped her pen. "Jacob's right. The cost variance is already showing." Victoria looked at Dennis. "Freeze the requirements by Friday." Dennis blinked. "That's aggressive." "No. Aggressive was pretending the timeline could absorb your hobby projects." Nate coughed into his hand. Victoria glanced at me for half a second. Just half. But I saw it. A private spark under the professional surface. After the meeting, I returned to my desk and found an email from her. Subject: strategic humility, it said. "Your phrase has been stolen," I replied. "I'll invoice you." She wrote back, "Breakfast was payment." I typed, "Burnt toast is not payment." 30 seconds later, it was artisanal. I stared at the screen longer than necessary. Nate rolled his chair over. "You're smiling at your inbox." "No, I'm reacting to strong leadership." "That's what we're calling it now?" I closed the email. "You need a hobby." "I have one. Watching responsible people become stupid." The next 2 weeks were a slow, controlled problem. Victoria did not cross lines in public. Neither did I. She didn't summon me for nonsense. I didn't linger outside her office like a teenager with a crush. We were adults, which meant we found more polished ways to be ridiculous. A meeting would end, and she would say, "Jacob, stay back for 2 minutes." Then ask one legitimate question and one unnecessary one. "How's the Phoenix staffing issue?" Handled. "And the disappointing lamp?" "Still disappointing. Have you considered replacing it?" "I'm emotionally attached." "I work in operations." I saw it coming and still respected the process. Sometimes I caught her watching me across the office during all-hands meetings. Not staring. Victoria didn't stare. She noticed. There's a difference. She could make a person feel selected from across a room and still leave no evidence. I didn't like how much I liked it. One Thursday, she came down to the operations floor with Avery, her assistant, a cheerful woman in her late 20s, who moved through the company like she had a secret map of everyone's stress. Avery stopped by my desk first. "Jacob, she wants 5 minutes." I looked past her. Victoria was pretending to read something on a tablet. "She's standing right there," I said. Avery nodded, yes. But she asked me to make it feel official. Victoria looked up. I did not. Avery smiled. "You said, 'Can you see if Jacob has 5 minutes?' That's executive code for make it feel official." "I'm surrounded by traitors," Victoria said. "Competent traitors," Avery corrected. I stood. 5 minutes for what?" Victoria's eyes met mine. "Walk with me." We walked past the glass offices toward the back stairwell. She held the tablet against her side, not reading it. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Yes." That was a suspiciously fast answer. "You ask like a man who expects bad news. I work here." She gave me a sideways look. "I need your opinion on something." "Professional opinion, mostly." That word is doing a lot of work. We stopped near an empty small conference room. She stepped inside and left the door open. Smart. Careful. Still a boundary. She showed me the tablet. A draft plan for restructuring client support. I scanned it. "This cuts too close to response coverage." I thought so. Then, why show me? Because Mara says it saves money. Dennis says it creates efficiency. Leonard says the board will like the discipline, and I say all 3 phrases make me want to check whether the building has fresh air. I looked at the plan again. It'll look good for 1 quarter and hurt us for 4. That's what I needed. You already knew. I wanted to hear you say it. That sounds dangerously close to using me as a conscience. I have one, it just enjoys backup. I handed the tablet back. "Then here's backup, don't do it." She nodded once. "Thank you, I should have left." Instead, I stayed by the doorway. She noticed. "What? This is the 3rd time this week you've asked for an opinion you already had. Maybe you're useful. I'm definitely useful. And modest. Not when accuracy is available. Her smile faded just a little, not in a sad way, in a careful way. You don't act nervous around me, she said. I do. I'm just disciplined. No, you push back. That's my job. Not everyone thinks so. Then not everyone is doing their job. She looked at me longer than she should have. That's why I wanted breakfast to be normal. It wasn't. No, it was not. Someone laughed in the hallway. The sound brought the office back around us. Victoria stepped away first. Go before Avery starts timing us. She already is. Probably. At the elevator, Avery glanced up from her phone. 4 minutes and 42 seconds. Very efficient. Victoria didn't miss a beat. Put it in my annual review. By then, I knew where it was going. I didn't admit it, but I knew. A man can lie to himself pretty effectively if he keeps the lie organized. The problem was not that she was my boss. That was the obvious problem, the one HR would put on a slide. The real problem was that I had spent years building a life with no sharp edges. I had an apartment near the river, a decent truck, a predictable gym schedule, a Sunday call with my older brother, who liked to remind me I lived like a retired accountant. I had dated a few women since my last serious relationship, but I always found a way to step back when things got complicated. My ex, Claire, had gone through a bad professional fall years earlier, and I had spent 18 months trying to carry guilt that did not belong to me. Every time she missed an opportunity, I apologized. Every time she made a hard choice, I wondered if I had pushed too much or not enough. When it ended, she told me, "You keep leaving before anyone can blame you." She wasn't wrong. With Victoria, I felt that old instinct wake up. Stay controlled, stay useful. Do not become the reason someone else loses balance. Then Victoria walked into my office late one Friday and closed the door halfway. "Dinner," she said. I looked up from a staffing sheet. That's a noun. Tonight. That's a schedule. With me. That's a risk. Her face stayed calm, but her fingers tightened around the folder she was holding. I was going to pretend this was about the enterprise rollout. Is it? No, good. There it was. No soft landing. No corporate fog. I leaned back. Then I'm going to say something before either one of us gets clever. Please do. I'm exhausted by clever. If we have dinner, it's not work, no agenda. No pretending we needed to discuss a client. Her expression shifted, not surprise exactly. Relief, maybe. And, I continued, we don't do this halfway. If it's a bad idea, we call it a bad idea now and move on like adults. She stepped closer to my desk. And if it's not a bad idea, then I pick the restaurant. That's your condition? That and no quarterly forecast talk. Brutal. I have standards. She smiled, but there was heat behind it. Not wild, not reckless. Just honest enough to make my office feel smaller. I've been waiting for you to say that, she admitted. For dinner? For a real sentence. I stood and grabbed my jacket. 7:30. That fast? You came to my office on a Friday night and said dinner like you were issuing a command. I'm responding before you find a policy document to hide behind. She looked at the floor for a second, then back at me. Pick somewhere that doesn't know me. I know a place. Of course you do. Don't sound suspicious. You own a disappointing lamp. Your taste is unverified. That lamp has taken a lot of abuse from you. It's character building. I opened the door. Avery was at her desk, not even pretending she hadn't heard. Have a good weekend, she said. Victoria pointed at her. Don't. I said weekend. You meant several other things. Avery looked at me. Have a normal weekend, Jacob. That seems unlikely, I said. Dinner was in a small neighborhood restaurant 20 minutes from downtown. Nothing fancy enough to attract board members. Nothing casual enough to feel careless. I got there early because that's who I am. Victoria arrived on time because that's who she is. For the first 10 minutes, we were terrible at it. She looked at the menu too long. I drank water like I had been rescued from the desert. The server asked if we wanted wine, and we both said no. At the same time, then laughed too hard for people declining a beverage. Victoria put the menu down. This is ridiculous. Strong start. I run a company with 200 employees. I schedule 3 states of field operations without losing anyone. And we can't order dinner. We peaked at workplace competence, she laughed, and after that the evening loosened. We talked about normal things first. Her father, who had started the company with a partner and expected her to take it seriously before she could legally rent a car. My first job loading trucks in Ohio. Her hatred of corporate retreats. My suspicion that icebreaker games were designed by people who had never been trapped in a room with accountants. You're very opinionated for someone quiet, she said. I'm not quiet. I'm selective. That sounds like something a quiet person would put on a mug. You sell mugs now? We diversify. She asked why I never moved into senior leadership. I like building systems, I told her. I don't like performing certainty for people who reward confidence over accuracy. She studied me. That was oddly specific. You asked. I did. What about you? I asked. Do you like it? Being CEO? Yeah. She took a moment. I like deciding. I like building. I like walking into a mess and knowing I can make it less stupid. That's inspiring. I said less stupid, not noble. Still a corporate mission statement I could support. She smiled, then her face got quieter. I don't like how much of it is theater. The board wants me sharp but not difficult, warm but not soft, ambitious but grateful, available but never tired. That sounds exhausting. It is. Then why keep doing it? Because it's mine. That answer landed, simple, clear, no speech, just ownership. Later, outside the restaurant, neither of us moved toward our cars. She folded her arms. This is the part where sensible people say goodnight. I've never trusted sensible people. Really? You seem like their captain. That's a disguise. Convincing one. I looked at her. Victoria. Yes, I want to see you again. She did not look away. Good. Outside work. Good. And I don't want to sneak around like we're ashamed of something. Her mouth tightened. We have to be careful. I know. The board already thinks I'm too independent. Leonard thinks microwaves are suspiciously modern. I'm serious. So am I. She glanced toward the parking lot. Careful does not mean ashamed. No, but sometimes people use one to cover the other. She took that in. I'm not ashamed of you. I didn't think you were. Good, but I won't be your secret hobby. Her eyes flashed with something like respect. Fair, and I won't make your job harder. You don't get to decide that alone. I know. Say that again later when you're tempted to act noble and disappear. I frowned. That was specific. You're not hard to read. I'm very hard to read. Jacob. You label your files by crisis level. That's organization. That's a cry for help. I laughed and she stepped closer. Not enough to turn the sidewalk into a scene, just enough that the air changed. Can I kiss you? She asked. That directness nearly knocked me off balance. Yes. The kiss was not dramatic. It was careful at first, then less careful. Her hand rested against my chest for 1 second before she stepped back. She exhaled. Okay. Okay? That was not a mistake. High praise from the CEO. Don't ruin it. I'm trying not to. She smiled. Try harder. After that, we were careful and not careful at the same time. At work, we kept our distance. No closed-door games. No late-night office meetings. No messages that would make Avery raise both eyebrows, though she did that anyway because Avery was built for detection. Outside work, we had dinners, walks, and quiet mornings in places where no one knew her title. She came to my apartment and insulted the lamp in person. It's worse than I imagined, she said from my living room. It provides light. So does a gas station. Now you're being elitist. I'm being visually alive. I stood beside her. You're welcome to buy me a new one. I refuse to reward negligence. You came over to bully furniture? I came over because I wanted to see where you hide when you're not making my company function. And? She looked around then at me. It feels like you. Plain, orderly, safe. That sounded almost kind. It was. Don't get emotional. Too late. I'll journal later. She walked to the kitchen, opened one cabinet, and laughed. What? I asked. You own one pan. It's a good pan. You're 34. I'm loyal. To cookware? To efficiency. She leaned back against the counter, and for a moment the teasing thinned into something warmer. You really built a life no one can interrupt. I didn't answer right away. She noticed. Too much? No. Jacob. I built a life I could handle. She nodded, not pushing. That was one thing I learned about her. Victoria could challenge a room full of executives without blinking, but when something real surfaced, she didn't grab at it. She let it stand. I liked that more than I wanted to. A week later, I spent Saturday at her house. We cooked, which mostly meant she gave orders, and I kept preventing the smoke detector from becoming part of the evening. We talked about nothing important, then about things that were. My father used to sit at the conference table and tap his ring when someone was wasting time, she said. Do you do that? No ring. You stare. I do not. You stare like you've already fired the sentence before it arrives, she laughed. That's terrible. That's accurate. He wanted me ready before anyone thought I deserved the chair. That's a heavy way to raise someone. It worked. Did it? She stopped cutting vegetables for half a second. I added, sorry, no. It's a fair question. She set the knife down. It worked for the company. I'm not sure what it did to me. The old version of me would have filled the silence with assurance. I had a talent for patching uncomfortable moments so no one had to stand in them. That night I didn't. I just leaned against the counter and said, you don't have to answer that tonight. She looked at me. That was annoyingly decent. I have moments. Don't collect too many. I'll get suspicious. We ate at her kitchen island, the same place where she had nearly given me a heart attack with, "Good morning, honey." After dinner, she reached across and took my hand. It was small in action, not small in meaning. I'm good at controlling rooms, she said. I've noticed. I'm not always good at this. Letting someone matter. I looked down at her hand over mine. Neither am I. No speech. I left my podium at home. She squeezed my hand once. Good. For a while we were happy in a way that made me uneasy because I knew how fragile it was. That sounds pessimistic. Maybe it was. But when a careful man gets something good, he starts checking the exits again. The board made their move on a Tuesday. The day started with a strange calendar block titled Governance Alignment. That was the first warning. In my experience, when leadership used the word alignment, someone was about to get shoved into place. Mara came by my desk at 8:15 with a folder held tight against her side. You seen Victoria? She asked. Not this morning. She's in with Leonard. Board call? In person. Mara did not waste words, so the two she didn't say mattered. I stood. What's happening? She looked toward the executive floor. Mara. Her face stayed composed, but her voice dropped. They moved the vote up. What vote? She pressed her lips together. I understood before she answered. Avery passed us fast, her usual cheer gone. Jacob, don't go up there. That bad? She stopped. They changed the agenda last night. Limited distribution. Victoria didn't get the final packet until this morning. That's not normal. No. Who called it? Leonard. I went anyway, not into the boardroom, but to the corridor outside the executive suite. I had no right to enter. I knew that. I also knew when a room had been designed to isolate someone. Through the glass, I saw Leonard Pierce sitting with two board members and the interim governance consultant, a man who looked like he had been assembled from expense reports. Victoria stood at the head of the table, not sitting. That told me plenty. Avery stepped beside me. She'll kill you if she sees you hovering. I'm not hovering. You're planted. Different thing. The door opened 20 minutes later. Leonard walked out first. Late 50s, silver hair, expensive calm. He gave me the kind of smile men use when they want witnesses to feel temporary. Jacob, he said, operations is not involved. Good morning to you too. His smile thinned. Today requires discretion, then maybe don't do it in glass rooms. Avery made a tiny noise beside me. Leonard's eyes cooled. Careful. I usually am. Victoria came out behind him. She was composed. Too composed. Her face had that smooth stillness people use when they refuse to fall apart in front of an audience. Jacob, she said. I looked at her, not Leonard. You okay? Leonard answered. Miss Lang is transitioning responsibilities. I still didn't look at him. I asked her. Victoria held my gaze. I'm fine. She wasn't. Mara appeared at the far end of the hall, saw the scene, and stopped. Leonard adjusted his cuff. The board has voted to appoint an interim CEO while Victoria focuses on strategic shareholder matters. She remains a significant owner, of course. 49%, Mara said quietly from behind him. Leonard glanced back. Yes. I looked at Victoria. Her father's company, her life's work, reduced to a phrase in a hallway. She gave one tiny shake of her head. Not here. I listened. That was not weakness. That was respect. But I did not give Leonard the silence he wanted. I hope the board documented the operational risks of changing command during 3 active rollouts, I said. Leonard's smile returned, colder. We appreciate your concern. No, you don't. Victoria's eyes flicked to me. I continued, calm. But you'll need operations to keep the client steady while you explain this. So don't confuse discretion with obedience. Avery stared at the floor like she was praying not to laugh or cry. Leonard stepped closer. You should return to your desk. I was going there. Good. But since we're sharing advice, you should stop smiling in hallways after humiliating someone who built the thing you're standing in. The corridor went quiet. Victoria's voice cut in. Jacob. That one word held warning, gratitude, and a hard stop. I nodded and walked back to operations. My team knew within an hour. Companies are terrible at keeping secrets, especially the secrets printed on executive faces. By noon, Dennis was telling people the board wanted a more scalable leadership structure, which was corporate language for removing a person without admitting it. Nate came into my office and closed the door. Tell me you didn't call Leonard creepy in the hallway. I did not. Good. I said. He smiled too much. Close enough. I rubbed my forehead. How bad is it? Bad, but clean. They had votes lined up. Mara says they've been building this for months. Months. That word hit harder than I expected. Not because I thought Victoria was careless. Because I knew exactly what the last few weeks had looked like. Dinners, mornings, messages. The two of us choosing each other in small pieces while Leonard counted votes. Nate watched me. Don't do that. Do what? Put your face on like you caused the weather. I'm not. You are. I've known you 8 years. You're about to decide your personal happiness caused a board coup. I looked at him. He pointed at me. There it is. That stupid noble look. Careful. No. You careful. She's a grown woman. They're grown snakes. You're not that powerful. I distracted her. You ate dinner with her, Jake. You didn't hypnotize the board. It matters. Maybe. But not the way you're about to make it matter. I wanted to tell him he was wrong. I couldn't. That evening, Victoria didn't answer my first call, or my second. At 8:40 she texted, "Can you come by?" I drove over with too many thoughts and no clean way to arrange them. She opened the door before I knocked twice. "Hey," she said. "Hey." She looked normal if you didn't know her. Comfortable clothes, hair pulled back, face calm. But her house felt too neat, like she had spent the afternoon putting objects away because she couldn't put the day away. I stepped inside. "Tell me the truth." She closed the door. "That's a rough hello. I can handle rough." "Can you?" "Yes." She walked to the kitchen. The same island, the same stools, the same place everything had started. She poured water she didn't drink. "It's not as bad as it looks. That's not the truth." She turned. "I keep my shares. I'm not broke. I'm not helpless." "I'm not." I didn't say any of that. "Then what do you want me to say? That it hurt?" Her jaw shifted. I waited. She gave a small shrug. "I was tired, Jacob." "No, I was. I've been tired for years. Maybe this is good. Maybe now I can breathe." "That sounds like a statement prepared for people you don't trust." Her eyes sharpened. "Don't push." "I'm not pushing. I'm standing here. You want me to collapse so you can feel useful?" That hit. She knew it did. I set my keys on the counter, slowly. "No, because I don't need saving." "I know. Do you?" "Yes." "Then stop looking at me like I lost my life." "You lost something." She laughed once, without humor. "You think I don't know that?" There she is. "What?" "The honest version." She looked away. I stepped back instead of closer. Every instinct in me wanted to fix, comfort, apologize, carry. That instinct had ruined enough already. I'm sorry, I said. For what? For being part of the weeks when you missed what they were doing. Her face changed. No, Victoria, no. Don't you dare. I'm not making a speech. Yes, you are. A quiet one. The kind where you sentence yourself and call it accountability. I hated how accurately she said that. She came around the island. Leonard wanted control before you ever woke up in my guest room. I know he did. Then act like you know. I also know attention is finite. So is blame. I looked at her. She softened for 1 second, then put the mask back on. I'm glad it happened. No, you're not. Maybe I am. You're lying. I'm choosing the version I can stand tonight. That was the first truth thing she had said. I nodded. Okay. She looked almost disappointed that I didn't argue harder. I picked up my keys. I'm going to go. Her brows drew together. That's it? For tonight, yes. So you ask for the truth, don't get it fast enough and leave? No. I ask for the truth, watch you bleed through a smile, and decide not to make you perform honesty because I'm uncomfortable. She froze. I care about you, I said. I'm not going to turn that into another demand. Her voice dropped. Jacob, I'll call tomorrow, and if I don't answer, then I'll call once, not 20 times. I'm persistent, not unhinged. A tired smile almost appeared. At the door she said, I really didn't want to lose you too. There it was. Small, cracked, real. I turned back. Then don't protect me by shutting me out. She didn't answer. I left because staying would have been easier. Leaving took more discipline. The next 2 weeks were worse than the board vote. At work, the new interim CEO, Greg Halverson, arrived with clean shoes, a loud handshake, and the deep belief that every problem could be solved by renaming a department. He called me Jay twice in our first meeting. My name's Jacob, I said the second time. Right, Jacob. We're all adjusting. I adjusted before the meeting ended. Mara looked down at her notes. Nate suddenly developed a cough. Greg wanted loyalty statements without calling them that. He wanted department leads to support the transition. He wanted me to present operational stability at the next all-hands as evidence that the company was moving smoothly. I asked, smoothly for clients or smoothly for the board? He smiled. Ideally both. Those are not always the same. Leonard attended that meeting by video, smiling from a square on the screen. Jacob. Leonard said, this is a moment for maturity. Maturity is not pretending nothing happened. Greg's smile tightened. We need you steady. I'm steady. Good. That doesn't mean I'm available for theater. Afterward, Mara caught me near the elevators. You're making enemies, she said. I had a few openings in my calendar. This isn't funny. No, but if I don't joke, I'll start saying things that require paperwork. She studied me. Victoria would not want you to burn your career down. I haven't. Not yet. I went back to my office and stared at the resignation letter I had drafted but not signed. That was the thing about guilt. It loves dramatic gestures. Quit, leave, apologize forever. Make yourself smaller so no one can accuse you of taking up space. So I waited, not because I was afraid, but because I wanted to be sure my choice was clean. Not guilt, not anger, not a performance for Victoria. A decision. Victoria and I still saw each other, but the warmth had trouble finding room. She joked too brightly. I acted too careful. We became experts at protecting each other badly. One night, at her house, she made pasta and talked about taking a month off. I could travel, she said. You hate airports. I could learn to like them. You once called airport seating a civic failure. It is. I put plates on the counter. You don't have to sell me the happy version. I'm not selling. You're wearing the smile you use on investors. She set the spoon down. And you're wearing the guilt face. I have several faces. That one is my least favorite. Mine too. She crossed her arms. What do you want from me? The truth. I don't know what the truth is yet. That I believe. But you keep waiting for me to say I'm destroyed. No. I'm waiting for you to stop pretending you're relieved. Her voice rose slightly. Maybe I need to pretend for a while. Then say that. She went quiet. I softened my voice. Say, Jacob, I need to pretend tonight, I can respect that. But don't ask me to believe a lie just because you packaged it well. She looked at me, and for a second I thought she would finally let the wall drop. Instead, she picked up the spoon again. Dinner's getting cold. I nodded. Okay, we ate. We talked about safe things. When I left, she kissed me at the door, but it felt like a promise postponed. The next morning, Greg sent me the all-hands agenda. My section had been edited. I was supposed to say, the leadership transition has strengthened cross-functional discipline and positioned Eastbridge for renewed growth. I walked into his office with the printout. No, I said. Greg looked up. Good morning, no. He took the paper. This is standard messaging. It's fiction. It's alignment. It's fiction in a nicer suit. He leaned back. Jacob, I need team players. You have one. That's why I'm telling you before you put me on a stage. His smile disappeared. Careful with your tone. My tone is the polite part. Leonard, again on video, folded his hands. Is there a problem? Yes, I said. You want me to sell a transition I don't believe in. You're an employee. I'm aware. Then your role is not to litigate board decisions. I'm not litigating anything. I'm declining to become a decorative plant. Greg frowned. Excuse me? Sorry. Sensitive history with plants. No one laughed. I placed my revised remarks on the desk. I'll report operational facts, client timelines, staffing, risk mitigation. I won't endorse your narrative. Leonard's eyes narrowed, and if that is not acceptable, then don't put me on the agenda. Greg looked at Leonard, then back at me. Fine. Facts only. Great. I like facts. They don't need rehearsals. That was my initiative on their territory, in their office, under their camera. It cost me. I saw it in Greg's face. I saw it in Leonard's. But I walked out lighter than I had walked in. Avery caught me near the stairs. I heard raised voices, she said. You heard Greg discovering boundaries. That must have been hard for him. He's new to the area. She smiled faintly, then turned serious. Victoria asked about you yesterday. She could call. She knows. Is she okay? Avery's expression answered before her words. She's Victoria. That is not the same thing. No, that night I signed the resignation letter. Not because Victoria needed rescuing. Not because I thought quitting would restore her title. Not because I wanted to make a noble little bonfire and warm my hands over it. I signed it because I could not keep lending my competence to people who had used process as a weapon and called it governance. I signed it because every time I walked past her former office, I felt myself becoming a man who knew the truth and stayed comfortable anyway. The next morning, I put the letter on Greg's desk. He read the first line and looked up. You're serious? Yes. This is a mistake, possibly. You don't have another job lined up. No. That's reckless. Maybe. But it's honest, and honestly has been underrepresented lately. Leonard was not there, which was disappointing. I had developed a petty appreciation for his discomfort. Greg stood. Jacob, take a week. Cool off. I'm not hot. You're emotional. I'm clear. The company needs stability. It had stability. You removed it. He tapped the letter. This won't bring her back. I know. Then what does it accomplish? I picked up my copy from the desk. It tells me who I work for. You work for yourself now. I smiled a little. Look at that. You do understand. Mara found me while I was packing my office. She stood in the doorway, arms folded. Idiot, she said. Good to see you too. You could have waited. I did. Not long enough. Long enough to know I wasn't doing it for applause. She walked in and shut the door. For what it's worth, I think you're right. That sounded painful. It was. Don't make me repeat it. I put a framed operations map into a box. You'll keep them from breaking too much. I'll keep the clients alive. I make no promises about the souls of men. That was dramatic for finance. I contain multitudes. Nate came in carrying my coffee mug. You forgot this. I hadn't left yet. I'm pacing my grief. Mara rolled her eyes and stepped out. Nate looked around my half-empty office. So this is happening. Yes. You got a plan? Not fully. That's new. I'm trying it. He handed me the mug. For the record, this is the dumbest brave thing I've seen in a while. I'll put that on my resume. You should. It's more interesting than operational excellence. I looked at the office one last time. 5 years of steady work, promotions I hadn't chased, problems I had solved before most people knew they existed. A safe life packed into one cardboard box. Nate held the door open. "Go get the girl," he said, then winced. That sounded terrible. It did. I regret it. You should. Go have a complicated adult conversation with the woman you love. That's worse. I'm workshopping. I laughed despite myself and carried the box out. Victoria opened her door that afternoon wearing no mask at all, which scared me more than the polished version. She looked at the box in my arms. "What did you do?" "I brought my mug." "Jacob." I resigned. Her face went still. "No." "Yes." "No, you didn't." "I'm pretty sure I did." Greg read slowly, but he got there. She stepped back from the door. "Come in." I set the box by the entryway. Before I start, you quit your job." "Yes." "Without talking to me." "Yes." "Do you hear the problem?" "I do." "Then why are you standing there like you just returned a library book?" "Because I'm trying not to make this about panic." She stared at me. "I don't need you to sacrifice your career for me." I didn't. "That's exactly what this looks like." "Then look harder." Her eyes flashed. "Do not talk to me like I'm one of your managers. I'm talking to you like the woman I love, who is about to use anger because fear is too exposed." The room went silent. There. No taking it back. No clever exit. Victoria looked away first. Her hand rested on the edge of the console table. "Don't. I love you. Jacob. I'm not asking you to say it back right now. You shouldn't have quit." "I didn't quit to buy your gratitude. It still puts pressure on me." "I know. You say you know, but you made a decision that changes both our lives." "No, it changes mine. You decide what it means for yours." She turned back to me. Her eyes were wet, but she did not cry yet. Victoria fought everything until the last professional second. "I lost my company," she said, voice tight. "I know. No, you don't. You know the facts. You don't know what it felt like to stand there while Leonard described my father's work as an asset class. I stayed quiet. I built that place. I gave it years I didn't have. I missed birthdays, vacations, relationships, basic human weekends. And then they smiled and said I could focus on shareholder value like they were giving me a spa day." Her voice broke on the last words. She hated it. "I saw that too. I told you I was relieved because I couldn't stand the idea of you looking at me like I had been reduced. I never saw you reduced." "Yes, you did. I saw you hurt." "That's worse." "No, it's human." She shook her head. "I don't know how to be that with someone watching." "Then practice badly." A laugh escaped her, small and sharp. "That's your romantic offer?" "Yes. Be human badly. I'll bring snacks." She covered her face with one hand for a second, then lowered it. "I was scared you'd decide I was too much trouble without the title. That is insulting to both of us." "I know. I didn't fall for your title. It helped. It complicated things. It also got you into better meetings. I was already in good meetings. They were terrible." She wiped under one eye, annoyed with herself. "I don't know what I am without it. You're Victoria. That sounds like a greeting card. Fine. You're difficult, funny, controlling in kitchens, suspiciously bad with toast, and better at making hard decisions than anyone I know." She looked at me. "And you're allowed to be devastated," I said. "You don't have to make it elegant." That did it. She stepped into me, not gently, and I held her while she finally stopped, managing the damage. She didn't fall apart beautifully. Real pain is not cinematic. She cried hard, got angry, pulled away, came back, cursed Leonard, without using language that would have impressed my grandmother, then apologized for crying, then got mad at herself for apologizing. At one point she said, "I hate this." I answered, "Reasonable. I hate that you saw it. I'm not enjoying it. That's your comfort?" "I'm new here." She laughed against my shirt, and the laugh turned into another wave of tears. Later, we sat on the floor by the couch because neither of us had moved intelligently. My resignation letter copy was on the coffee table. Her hand rested near mine, not holding it yet. "I love you too," she said. I looked at her. She stared at the table. "Don't make me repeat it immediately." I'm still annoyed. I wouldn't dare. You would. I absolutely would. She turned her hand over. I took it. What now? She asked. Now we don't rush to fix tomorrow tonight. That's mature and irritating. I contain multitudes. Mara said that, didn't she? She did. I'm stealing from strong women now. You always were. For the first time in weeks, the silence between us didn't feel like a wall. It felt like space we were allowed to share. The months after that were not neat. I did some consulting work. She took meetings with people who had once been too intimidated to call her directly. We slept in some mornings because no one was waiting for her to approve a crisis before 7 climb. We argued about stupid things, then about serious things, then learned which was which. She had bad days when she missed Eastbridge, so much she became sharp with everyone, including me. One morning she snapped, "You don't understand what it's like to have your name taken off the door," I answered. "You're right." She looked ready for a fight. I continued. "But you don't get to punish me for not losing the same thing." She went quiet. Then she nodded. Fair. I had bad days when guilt tried to sneak back in wearing a responsible expression. Once, after a potential investor delayed a meeting with her, I said, "Maybe if I hadn't." She pointed a fork at me. "Finish that sentence and I will make you eat dinner alone." I was going to say maybe if I hadn't overcooked the chicken. No. You weren't. No. Progress is honesty. The chicken is also bad. It is terrible. We laughed, and then we started again. The new company did not appear out of nowhere. It began as a conversation at my kitchen table, under the judgment of the ugly lamp which Victoria still refused to replace out of what she called historical accountability. She had been advising small business owners who needed operational clarity but did not want corporate theater. I had been doing the same from the ground level. One night, she pushed a notebook toward me. "We could build this," she said. I looked at the numbers. We could. Not Eastbridge, no. Not another machine that eats people and calls it growth. That slogan needs work. I'm serious, I know. She watched me carefully. Partners? I knew she meant the business. I also knew she meant more than that. Equal partners, I said. Equity, equal. Decision rights, equal. Final say. We argue until one of us becomes reasonable. That may take years. I'm budgeting for it, she smiled. And us? We don't hide inside the work. That sounds like a rule. It is. Good. We launched 6 months later from a rented office above a dental practice in Nashville, because life has a sense of humor and apparently mine involved hearing drills during client calls. The company was small, clean and ours. No board, no Leonard, no interim CEO calling me Jay. Just clients, problems, decisions, and the daily challenge of loving someone who knew exactly when I was avoiding a hard conversation. Victoria was different there, still sharp, still demanding, still capable of making a spreadsheet feel judged. But lighter. She laughed more. She asked for help before exhaustion made the decision for her. Sometimes she still forgot. Sometimes I did too. We hired Avery after 3 months. She walked into the new office, looked around and said, "This place needs adult supervision." Victoria hugged her. Avery looked at me over Victoria's shoulder. And a better lamp. I'm being attacked in my own company. Our company, Victoria corrected. I looked at her. That sounded expensive. It will be. Mara sent referrals. Nate came by once and told me the old company had turned 3 departments into 5 committees and somehow made emails slower. Greg lasted less than a year. Leonard kept his board seat. But Eastbridge lost 2 major clients after trying to cut the support coverage I had warned them about. Victoria did not celebrate it. Not openly. She read the news, set her phone down and said, "That's unfortunate." I said, "Your face disagrees." My face has no comment. Your face is holding a parade. Quiet. We did not build a perfect life. Perfect lives are usually managed by people lying in newsletters. We built a real one. Work, dinner, disagreements, late invoices, good mornings that meant something very different than the first one. A year after the office party, I woke up in Victoria's house again. Our house by then, though I still corrected myself sometimes. She stood in the kitchen, making coffee, wearing my old sweatshirt, and an expression that said she had already been awake too long, thinking about a client proposal. I walked in and leaned against the counter. She looked up. "Good morning, honey." I pointed at her. "That line is legally dangerous. No legal talk in this house. Good policy." She handed me coffee. "You have a client call at 9. We have a client call. Equal partners?" "Unfortunately," she smiled. "Regrets?" I thought about the safe apartment, the ugly lamp, the office I packed into a box, the woman at the center of a room who had learned to be a woman in a kitchen without apologizing for either. I thought about how close I had come to stepping back because guilt felt easier than courage. "No," I said. "But I still think your toaster started this." "Our toaster." "That thing remains your department," she laughed, and I kissed her before the coffee got cold. That morning after the bet did not ruin my professional distance. It ruined my hiding place, and honestly, I needed that more than I needed safety. What would you have done if you woke up in your CEO's house after a bet like that? Do you think Jacob was right to quit, or should he have stayed and fought from inside?